situation was. Two colored girls, there were no girls there. They were supposed to meet up in a diner, and they didn't. He went to his parking lot. He had a few things to do. Change his clothes, shack back, and spruce up a bit in front of the cracked mirror. So on, and then we took off. That was the night Dean met Carlo Marx. A tremendous thing happened when Dean met Carlo Marx. Two keen minds that they were, they took to each other at the drop of a hat. Two piercing red eyes glanced into two piercing red eyes. Holy con man with a shining mind, and the sorrowful, poetic con man with the dark mind that is Carlo Marx. From that moment on, I saw very little of Dean. I was a little sorry too. Their energies met head-on, and I was alone compared. I couldn't keep up with them. The whole mad swirl of everything that was to come began then. I would mix up all my friends, and all I had left of my family in a big dust cloud over New York City. Carlo told them of Old Bull Lee, Elmer Hassel, Jane, Lee in Texas growing weed, Hassel on Rikers Island, Jane wandering on Times Square in a Benzedrine hallucination with her baby girl in her arms ending up in Bellevue. And Dean told Carlo of unknown people in the West like Tommy Snark, the club-footed pool hall rotation shark and card player, and Queer Saint. Told them of Roy Johnson, Big Ed Dunkel, his boyhood buddies, his street buddies, his innumerable girls, sex parties, pornographic pictures, his heroes, heroines, and adventures. They rushed down the street together, digging everything.
They rushed down the street together, digging everything. They rushed down the street together, digging everything in the early way they had, which later became so much sadder and perceptive. They rushed down the street together, digging everything in the early way they had, which later became so much sadder and perceptive and blank. But then they danced down the streets like tingle devils. And I shambled after, as I've been doing all my life, after people who interest me. Because the only people for me are the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time, the ones who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like fabulous yellow Roman candles exploding like spiders across the stars. And into the middle you see the blue center light pop, and everybody goes, "Aww." What did they call such young people in Getz, Germany? Wanting dearly to learn how to write like Carlo. The first thing you know, Dean was attacking him with a great amorous soul, such as only a con man can have. Now, Carlo, let me speak. Here's what I'm saying. I didn't see them for about 2 weeks, during which time they cemented their relationship to fiendish all day, all night, talk proportions.
Suddenly, I found myself on Times Square. I had traveled 8,000 miles around the American continent, and I was back on Times Square, right in the middle of rush hour, too. Seeing with my innocent road eyes the absolute madness and fantastic career of New York with its millions and millions hustling forever for a buck amongst themselves. And the mad dream. Grabbing, taking, giving, sighing, dying, just so they could have buried in those awful cemetery cities beyond Long Island City. High towers of the land, the other end of the land, the place where paper America is born. Crap, I lost my place. Stood in the subway doorway trying to get enough nerve to pick up a beautiful long butt, and every time I stooped, great crowds rushed by and obliterated it from my sight. Finally, it was crushed. I had no money to go home on the bus. Patterson is quite a few miles from Times Square. Can you picture me walking those last miles through the Lincoln Tunnel or over the Washington Bridge and into New Jersey? It was dusk. Where was Hassel? I dug the square for Hassel, but he wasn't there. He was in Rikers Island behind bars. Where Dean? Where everybody? Where life? I had no home to go to, my place to lay my head down and figure the losses and figure the game that I knew was in there somewhere too. I had to panhandle 2 bits for the bus. I finally hit a Greek minister who was standing around the corner. He gave me a quarter with a nervous look away. I rushed immediately to the bus. When I got home, I ate everything in the icebox. My aunt got up and looked at me. Poor little Salvatore, she said in Italian. You're thin. You're thin. Where have you been all this time? I had on 2 shirts and 2 sweaters. A canvas bag had torn cotton field pants and the tattered remnants of my Kerouac shoes in it. My aunt and I decided to buy a new electric refrigerator with the money I sent her from California. It was to be the first one in the family. She went to bed, and late at night I couldn't sleep and just smoked in bed. My half-finished manuscript was on the desk. It was October, home, and work again. First cold winds rattled the window pane, and I had made it just in time. Dean had come to my house, slept several nights there, waiting for me. Spent afternoons talking to my aunt as she worked on a great rag rug woven of all the clothes in my family for years. It was now finished and spread on my bedroom floor, as complex and as rich as the passage of time itself. And then he had left. 2 days before I arrived, crossing my path probably somewhere in Pennsylvania or Ohio to go to San Francisco. He had his own life there. Camille had just gotten an apartment. It never occurred to me to look her up from Mill City. Now it was too late, and I had also missed Dean.